My sugar daddy husband lost his memory. He was unquestionably determined to divorce me. I don't like suddenly ending up with a clingy wife, he said. After the divorce, you won't get a cent less than you deserve. Just don't appear in front of me again. There was a deal this good? I took the huge payout and ran. Later, at a bar, I was feeling up a male model's abs when a low, dangerous, husky voice came from behind me. When you used to touch me, did you smile this happily too? My husband, who was on a business trip abroad, had suddenly gotten into a car accident and lost his memory. When I heard the news, my first reaction was that this had to be another one of Jeremy Williams's loyalty tests. After all, the last time word came that he was sick and in the hospital, I'd tried to use it as an opportunity to slip out of the country. I'd barely set foot in the airport when the whole place was surrounded. The man standing in the very center, flanked by bodyguards, had clearly been waiting there for a long time. Faced with my stunned expression, he only lifted his eyes and glanced at his watch. 2 minutes faster than last time, baby. So eager to leave me, His tone was lazy, almost careless, but the pressure in the air dropped so low that no one present dared to breathe too loudly. I was taken back to the big villa. After that, I spent 2 whole months with him, day and night. Jeremy used his actions to teach me how to be a little more obedient. Every corner of the villa bore the traces of our fierce battles. Just thinking about it made my waist and calves tremble faintly. So this time, I wised up. I immediately called to show some concern. But the moment the call connected, it was hung up. Unwilling to accept it, I called again several times. Each one was ruthlessly and decisively rejected. I had no idea what kind of act Jeremy was putting on now. After thinking it over, I switched to messaging him instead. Baby, how are you feeling now? I didn't get a reply until the next day. He was as stingy with words as ever, busy. I sent a cute sticker. That's good. Why didn't you pick up my calls? Don't you know I was worried sick about you? Talk normally. Huh? But this is how we always talk. Isn't this your favorite little wavy line? The chat window went silent for 2 minutes. I've lost my memory. I'm not used to this. This serious, distant way of speaking from Jeremy had only appeared back when I first met him. I froze for a second. Had he really lost his memory? I kept typing, it's okay, hubby. Just take your time recovering. When you come back, I'll give you a big, big kiss, maybe you'll remember everything all at once. He left me on read and didn't reply. That was not Jeremy's style. The old him, never mind a car accident and amnesia. Even if both his legs were broken, he'd still crawl back to demand his kiss from me. Yet a few days went by, and Jeremy still didn't send me a single message. It was all just me talking into the void. Hubby, are you feeling any better? When are you coming back? Remember to rest, okay? Even if I'm not by your side, you still have to eat properly. How about I come over to you? Don't worry, I definitely won't run. Every message sank to the bottom like a stone. Just when I was starting to wonder what was going on, I finally got a reply. I don't like reporting my schedule to other people, and I'm not used to suddenly having a clingy wife. I'll have my assistant draft a divorce agreement. My eyes went wide. Divorce? His tone was cold, distant, and domineering, completely disregarding my opinion. You won't get a cent less than you deserve in the divorce. After that, don't appear in front of me again. I blinked. My mood took a long time to settle. There was really something this good? Honestly, it had been a long time since I'd seen this frosty, high-and-mighty side of Jeremy. Had the car really knocked something loose in his brain? I'd tried to run away maybe not 100 times, but definitely dozens. And now he was actually taking the initiative to let me go? Half doubtful, I asked, "You're sure you won't drag me back again?" He replied, "Drag you back? You're overestimating yourself." Yes, that was exactly it. This was the original Jeremy, looking down on everything from on high. He really had lost his memory. My heart sped up. Great, let's divorce then. When it comes to getting lost, I'm a total professional. Guys, who could possibly understand this? I'd tried to escape so many times. I never thought that, in the end, leaving would be this easy. My name is Monica Lopez. I came to this world on a mission. According to the script, I'm supposed to play a vicious supporting actress. Constantly provoking the male and female leads, doing all kinds of awful, stupid things. But I got a little too into the role. By accident, I ended up sleeping with the male lead, Jeremy. From then on, this cold, ascetic power player of the capital's elite circle clung to me like some damp, sinister ghost. I just couldn't shake him off. Every now and then, the system would drop by to check on my mission progress. One time, it found the male lead and me under the same blanket, going at it hot and heavy. The always ascetic, aloof male lead even had my lacy panties hanging around his neck. The system let out a shrill alarm. "Host, what the hell are you doing?" "That's the male lead." To do damage control, the system ordered me to be even more vicious and make the male lead hate me. By the time the system came back again, I was holding a little leather whip, lashing the man kneeling on the floor. His expression was restrained, but his eyes were full of love and possessiveness. "Baby, does your hand hurt? You can switch hands to hold the whip." Seeing things get worse and worse, the system grew very serious. "Host, you have to leave the male lead. Only if the male and female leads end up together can you complete the mission and return to your original world." I tried everything I could think of to make Jeremy hate me. But he was like some kind of pervert, his feelings for me only grew stronger and stronger. If our hearts couldn't be separated, then I decided to try a physical separation instead. To run away from his side. But every time, I got caught and dragged back. Now that Jeremy has lost his memory and wants to divorce me, maybe heaven is finally giving me a golden opportunity. The system said that everything I owned in this world, stuff and money alike, I could take with me when the mission was complete. So early the next morning, as soon as I got up, I started packing my things in the huge villa. I hadn't realized it before, but once I started packing, I discovered that everything was basically mine. Jeremy was a minimalist. Before I moved into this villa, it had a cold, sterile aesthetic. Aside from daily necessities, there wasn't a single decorative piece that added any joy to life. It was the textbook definition of a show unit. I, on the other hand, love all sorts of quirky little trinkets. And I love keeping flowers. The originally empty villa had long since been turned, by my hands, into a warm, cozy space I liked. I'm sentimental by nature, so I wanted to take all of it with me. I huffed and puffed, packing away. But a lot of the things I loved were actually put away by Jeremy. No matter how I searched, I couldn't find them. After thinking it over for a long time, I still sent him a message, "Hello." A long time passed, and he didn't reply. I sent another, "I just wanted to ask, have you remembered anything?" Too lazy to type, I sent a voice message instead. "That pink pearl necklace at home, I can't find it. I remember you were always the one who put it away for me. I wanted to ask if you still remember where it is." Half an hour went by. Just when I thought he wasn't going to reply, my phone buzzed. I saw Jeremy's message. "Second drawer of the bookshelf on the left in the study. I actually found it." You remembered?" "I'm just sensitive about where things are placed, so I vaguely remember. Your voice isn't what I imagined." I quickly listed out everything else I couldn't find and asked him about them one by one. In the end, all of those things were found. I sent a thank you sticker. "I just didn't want to refuse after hearing your voice." When he found out I was packing to move out, he fell silent for a moment. "This villa will be transferred to your name. You don't need to move." I took a deep, touched breath. Even after losing his memory, Jeremy was still this generous. You have to know, this villa was in a prime location that money alone couldn't buy. I rushed to flatter him, sending a voice message and laying on the praise thick without repeating myself. Finally, I wrapped it up in one sentence, "I just have excellent taste. You really are the best man in the world." He left me on read again. The amnesiac Jeremy had become especially cold. Was he going to turn back into that workaholic demon from before? Once I'd put everything back in place, a message popped up on my phone at just the right moment. "Did you always act this coquettish with me before?" The next second, he withdrew it. These past few days, I'd been living extra free. Before Jeremy lost his memory, every time I went out, I had to report to him. He'd even set a curfew. I had to be home before 10 at night. Now, no one was watching me. The long-lost freedom wrapped itself around me again. I went straight for an all-nighter out on the town. During the day, I slept at home. Half asleep, I woke up to see a figure in front of me. He was pretty handsome. Who would have thought I'd be having a spring dream in broad daylight? I smiled and was about to pounce. Then I saw his face clearly. I slammed on the brakes so hard I almost fell off the bed. Jeremy. When had he gotten back? He was in a suit, like he'd rushed over straight from some meeting. Jeremy looked at me with a blank expression, like he was looking at a stranger. That is, if you ignored the hand he'd put on my waist to steady me. I noticed that hand instinctively stroke my waist once. Terrified, I quickly pulled back. Jeremy had lost his memory, but his body's instinctive reactions hadn't changed. I carefully looked up and found his eyes clear and cold. He didn't look like he'd regained his memories. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. "Why did you suddenly come back?" Jeremy frowned at the mess of the room. "Was it always like this at home before?" I felt a little embarrassed. "You always helped me tidy up before." Jeremy was a neat freak. When it came to intimate spaces like the bedroom, he would never let the housekeepers in to clean. Back then, I was the one who made the mess, and he was the one who cleaned it up. When he heard that, his brows furrowed even more. It was as if he couldn't understand how someone as obsessive about cleanliness as himself had ended up marrying a woman like me. "Clean yourself up. We're going to file the divorce paperwork in a bit." I shot up from the bed like a carp, okay? And completely forgot that I was wearing a lace nightgown. As I moved, the strap slipped down. The whole nightgown slid with it, revealing quite a view. I vaguely heard the sound of a throat swallowing. When I turned back, Jeremy was already standing at the door. His voice was icy. "These little tricks don't work on me. I'll wait for you downstairs." I shrugged. Wasn't he the one who picked out this nightgown in the first place? Most of my loungewear had been chosen by Jeremy, high-quality fabric, very comfortable to wear. They just tended to slip down easily. Which, frankly, was part of a certain man's scheming. Sometimes, I'd be talking to him and, before I knew it, he would have tugged my clothes off. Then he'd start making pancakes on me. Who knew there'd come a day when he'd complain about the clothes he'd bought himself? Once I was done getting ready, I went downstairs. I found him sitting on the sofa, staring at the framed photo on the wall. It was our wedding photo. In the picture, the two of us were pressed close together, intimate and inseparable. The man's arms completely caged the woman in, like he was declaring his ownership. Seeing him still staring, I was afraid he'd remember something and quickly blocked his view. "I've been packing these past few days and haven't had time to take it down yet." He looked at me, a flicker of unreadable emotion passing through those cool eyes. "Were we very much in love before?" I said, "That was before. Love changes." A murky darkness churned in the depths of his gaze. "I bring up divorce, and you don't seem sad at all. Was it that obvious?" I shook my head and argued, "Of course that's not it. I'm just respecting your wishes. Love is respect, isn't it?" He let out a cold laugh. "Pretty words. Did you coax me like this before too? It won't work now. Put away your little tricks. I despise hypocritical people the most." He tossed the divorce agreement at me. "Sign it if you have no objections. We'll part on good terms." I was just reaching for it when a sharp cramp twisted through my lower belly. Perfect timing, I'd gotten my period. The last few days, my schedule was upside down and I'd been eating junk nonstop. So this period had arrived with unusual ferocity. It hurt so much I was rolling around on the bed. A bowl of ginger brown sugar tea was suddenly held out in front of me. Steam curled up from the surface. Teary-eyed, I looked up at the man. He fed me as I drank. The way I licked my lips was reflected in his eyes. His gaze turned hard to read. "Good girl." Only when I'd finished the whole bowl did the two of us realize how natural our behavior had been just now. Like eating or drinking water. Nothing like a couple on the verge of divorce. It wasn't just Jeremy who froze for a few seconds. I was a little flustered too. I suggested, "I feel much better now. Why don't we just sign the divorce agreement right away?" He put down the porcelain bowl and leaned back against the sofa, his tone careless. "In such a rush to divorce me, got someone else outside?" That oppressive feeling was exactly like the old Jeremy. I shook my head immediately. "Of course not. I'm not that kind of fickle woman. You're the only one in my heart." His expression stayed languid. "I don't care." The next second, my phone rang. On the other end, a man's syrupy voice said, "Sis, you left your bag here. When are you coming to get it?" It was the male model I'd danced with at the bar last time. A shiver ran through me. Why did it feel like the room temperature had suddenly dropped? Sis, why aren't you saying anything?" With every notch sweeter the boy's voice sounded over the phone, the colder the room felt. "Sorry, you've got the wrong number." I had never felt this guilty in my life. I hurriedly hung up. Meeting the man's probing gaze, I gave him an awkward little smile. "I don't know him. He must have dialed the wrong number." Jeremy narrowed his eyes. "So Miss Lopez also has such a considerate little brother. Did I know about him before I lost my memory?" His tone was casual, as if he were asking whether I'd had water or a meal. But I hadn't spent all these years with him for nothing. Jeremy was possessive and obsessive down to his bones. Even if he'd lost his memory and felt nothing for me now, I was still his wife in name. If I really did something that betrayed him, I wouldn't end up in a good place. These past few days I'd been shopping like crazy, playing even crazier. But I hadn't actually done anything that crossed Jeremy's bottom line. The male model who'd just called had only handed me a drink. There was nothing between us beyond that. But even so, I still couldn't help feeling guilty. If it had been the old, clear-headed Jeremy, just letting my gaze linger on another man for 2 seconds longer would have irritated him. Let alone drinking a glass another man had handed me. But now Jeremy had lost his memory. He probably wouldn't dig into things that far. Thinking of that, I met his eyes without flinching and tacked on a random lie. "Before you lost your memory, you never cared about this kind of thing." When he frowned, I sighed, letting a lonely, aggrieved look surface on my face. "You used to be so busy with work, you hardly had any time to keep me company. Every time I went to you, you blamed me for interrupting your work. The truth is, our relationship had already started to fall apart a long time ago. Your amnesia is just the trigger." I'd already prepared myself mentally for divorce. Jeremy's sharp, handsome features were set in stone. He tapped the table thoughtfully. I really want to know why I married you in the first place. Hell if I knew. Back then I'd only slept with you once, and you'd clung to me like a ghost ever since. I put on another theatrical sigh. Maybe because I'm pretty good looking. At the time your company was in a growth phase, and getting married would stabilize things. So out of a whole crowd, you picked me, the pretty, gentle, considerate one, and wanted me to be a quiet little decorative vase by your side. But you underestimated your own overwhelming charm. I wasn't willing to just be a vase and wanted more, and you thought I was too greedy and gradually grew to hate me. In the end, it was all just my own wishful thinking. I got so into my own story that my voice even choked up a little. I almost believed myself. When I looked up, I found the man propping his chin with one hand, expression lazy. Seeing I'd stopped, he said coolly, "Go on." "I'm telling the truth," I said. He gave me a long, meaningful look. "That mouth of yours really is good at coaxing people. Then tell me, which of my overwhelming charms made you so greedy?" My sorrowful facade nearly cracked. "So you're really enjoying this, huh? Is that really what you should be focusing on?" Jeremy's eyes narrowed, his tone turned dangerous. "Why aren't you talking? Don't tell me you were lying to me just now." "How could I be lying? Hubby, you're young, handsome, and rich. At such a young age, you built a massive business empire, so many people envy you. Marrying you is like I saved the world in my past life." He remained unimpressed. "That's it? Huh?" My head throbbed. How was he still this arrogant even after losing his memory? When he glanced over again, I rushed to pile on more praise. "Of course that's not all. You're the dream man of countless girls. You're not only outstanding at work, you're also omnipotent in daily life. You've mastered every cooking skill under the sun, and whether it's in the kitchen or in bed, there's not a single flaw to be found. 3 days and 3 nights without repeating a position even once, one of you is better than 6 of anyone else." The words slipped out without going through my brain. By the time I realized what I'd said, it was too late. I wanted to slap myself, twice. Stupid mouth, how could you blurt out the truth? When I looked at Jeremy again, the earlier nonchalance had vanished. He straightened up from the sofa. His expression turned a bit stiff, he pressed a hand to his mouth and gave a light cough. "You really are quite greedy." "Me, I have a swear word on the tip of my tongue and no idea if I should say it. I wasn't the initiative one here, it was you begging me to keep going. All those tricks of yours were practiced on me. In the beginning, your skills were absolute trash. But obviously, I couldn't say any of that to an amnesiac Jeremy. Otherwise all the lies I'd just spun would really fall apart. I resigned myself. So, in order not to keep troubling you, President Williams, why don't we sign the divorce agreement now?" He still didn't move. I called him, "Jeremy? President Williams?" Jeremy finally spoke. "Your greed doesn't trouble me. Only people without the capital for it would call this a burden. Excuse me, I praise you a little and you really let it go to your head." But then again, he really did have the capital for that kind of arrogance. All at once I felt drained. At this rate, are we ever going to get divorced? This time when he came back, Jeremy had originally come to get a divorce. But once he returned to this villa, a strong and familiar feeling washed over him. The decor clearly wasn't his style. He thought there was far too much stuff, all cluttered and chaotic. It gave him a headache. Yet his instincts told him he couldn't get divorced. This place gave him a sense of warmth and lingering attachment. His heart was beating too fast. That strange feeling reached its peak when he saw the wife he'd forgotten. His blood seemed to boil. She was a small bundle curled up under the covers. Her sleeping posture was anything but proper. One leg was casually stretched out, her slender, pale ankle looking like it would snap with the slightest bend. He actually wanted to pull her into his arms and hold her hard. To leave his own exclusive marks on her fair skin. Including that exposed foot. But he had always hated physical contact with people. Especially with the woman before him. Before returning, he'd had her background investigated. A woman who was useless, even excessively foolish and spoiled. Yet when she woke and her gaze fell on him, his heart had raced out of control. After that, every word she said. He felt like she was seducing him. He felt parched, overheated. That feeling of being out of control was unbearable. Jeremy hated anything that pushed him out of his own control, people included. So after he signed his name on the divorce agreement, he thought that sense of losing control would lessen. But why was it that? He wanted to tear that divorce agreement to shreds. And slap himself a couple of times while he was at it. The moment I got the divorce agreement in my hands, it felt like I was dreaming. Especially with Jeremy's complicated expression, as if there was a hint of regret. I hurriedly clutched the divorce papers to my chest. Once we're divorced, you can't go back on it. He was already in a foul mood, and when he heard me say that, he seemed even more irritable. In my dictionary, the word regret does not exist. I tried my best not to burst out laughing. Yes, yes. Even though we're divorced, President Williams, you're still the man I admire most. After Jeremy left, the air pressure around him as low as ever, I started calling for the system. System, Jeremy and I are divorced. What do I need to do next? You said before that once the mission was complete, I could go back to my original world. When the system appeared, it didn't seem surprised at all. From its explanation, I finally learned that Jeremy's memory loss this time wasn't an accident. It was the world's plotline correcting itself. It used amnesia to erase his obsession with me, so he could smoothly form a bond with the female lead. The system said, we've already arranged the encounter between the female lead and the male lead, Jeremy, on this side. Host, wait a bit. I'll report this upstairs. Once it's approved, you can go back. Okay. I thought I'd be overjoyed when I finished the mission and went back. But only afterward did I realize that a faint sense of emptiness had crept in. After all, I'd spent so many days with Jeremy. His way of expressing love was more obsessive than a normal person's. But also more scorching and pure. The moment I thought about never seeing him again, I actually felt a little reluctant to let go. But very soon, the massive fortune I'd gotten from the divorce soothed my soul. I could take all of this back with me. When the time came, I could change men every day. Who would still have time to think about Jeremy? I waited peacefully for the countdown to my departure. Yet I kept running into Jeremy all over the place for no reason. Sometimes I'd even see him when I went to the bathroom. Why wasn't he bumping into the female lead? Why was he always bumping into me? The next time he saw me, his handsome face was cold and utterly expressionless. He said, "Are you blocking my way on purpose?" Me, if you didn't say that, I would have thought you were the one doing it on purpose. I shrugged innocently. I'm just shopping like a normal person. But you, President Williams, why are you in the women's clothing section? No sooner had I finished speaking than a pretty, delicate girl stepped out from behind Jeremy. President Williams is here to help me pick out clothes. Her voice was soft, but her eyes were bright and clear. She explained earnestly, because I'm going with President Williams to a business reception later, and I don't have anything suitable to wear. The halo around this girl was especially dazzling. I recognized her immediately. The female lead of this world. Also Jeremy's destined other half. Sure enough, the plot was being corrected. The male and female lead's romance line had already begun to develop. To keep the story from veering off its proper track again, I decided to quietly turn into an invisible extra and walk away. But a hand reached out to stop me. You still haven't told me why you keep showing up in front of me again and again. It's a coincidence. Coincidence, or on purpose? He'd lost his memory, yet he still liked to chase me down like this. I smiled and pushed away the hand blocking my path. Only for him to naturally lace his fingers around mine. I said. I don't like people playing hard to get, he said. What was that supposed to mean? Feeling that cool, large hand wrap around my palm, my body went rigid, yet I felt strangely attached to it. Jeremy seemed to feel the same, his fingers unconsciously pinched the back of my hand, like he'd done it many times before. I really don't feel any aversion to you. He sounded thoughtful. His memories were gone, but his body's instincts remained. Afraid Jeremy might remember something from this physical contact, I hurriedly pulled my hand back. Even though you really are quite charming, President Williams, there are plenty of men in this world. I don't need to hang myself from a single tree. These few times were pure coincidence. If you don't want to see me, I'll avoid these places from now on. Seeing me deliberately put distance between us, and hearing what I said, it was as if he were some kind of plague beast. Jeremy's face turned frighteningly cold. Monica Lopez, remember what you just said. The next time we meet, I won't let you off easily. I stayed home for several days after that, afraid of running into Jeremy again. Later, I thought it through. Why was I acting so guilty? I was about to leave this place anyway, even if I ran into him, it wasn't a big deal. That night, I headed to a bar, determined to let loose for once. The lights in the bar shifted and flickered, the music pounded, wild and joyful. I picked the best seat in the house. Then I waved my hand grandly. And ordered the 5 hottest male models in the bar to drink with me. Because I was a big spender, all 5 of them pulled out every trick they had to get my attention. Sis, you're so gorgeous, my heart's beating so fast. Feel it. My heart's beating even faster. Sis, feel mine. Their bodies can't compare to mine. Sis, look at my V-line abs, what do you think? Every single one of them had a killer body. Surrounded by them, all my worries vanished, leaving only happiness. One at a time, one at a time. I'll feel all of you. Basking in the temptation of beautiful men, I was just about to admire the abs of the male model closest to me, when I suddenly felt an icy gaze land on me. That familiar sensation sent a shiver through my whole body. The next second, my ex-husband's low, dangerous, husky voice sounded behind me. Did you smile this happily when you used to touch me? The moment I heard that voice, I stiffly turned my head. In the next booth over, I saw a man. In the dim lighting, his sharp, handsome features were outlined in stark relief, cold and chiseled. His face was dark, those razor-edged eyes half-narrowed, fixed on the hand I was about to lay on the model's abs, as if I really touched him, I could say goodbye to that hand. Why was Jeremy here? And his aura had turned back into that damp, sinister ghost vibe again. The oppressive force of it made me instinctively put some distance between myself and the models. Why did you stop? Jeremy was clearly smiling, but I couldn't see a trace of mirth in his eyes. Only the looming threat of an oncoming storm. That familiar sense of pressure made my heart pound. Had Jeremy gotten his memories back? I quickly dismissed the thought. The world's correction of the male lead's trajectory wouldn't let him recover his memories this fast. I braced myself and reclaimed my momentum. President Williams, could you take your little assistant to go pick out clothes, while I check whether this younger brother's heart is okay? In the past, I would never have dared say something like that to Jeremy. It would have been like tap dancing on his biggest landmine. The price would definitely have been 10 days to half a month of punishment carried out personally. But now, I was about to leave this world. What was there to be afraid of? With that in mind, I grew even bolder, even more rebellious. Only after the divorce did I realize that younger guys smell pretty sweet too. They're soft-spoken, know how to coax me, way more considerate than President Williams. The smile on Jeremy's face faded bit by bit, something violent and icy swirling in his eyes. Oh? Is that so? Of course. President Williams, you're not exactly young anymore. Relying on technique just can't compare to the raw explosive power those younger brothers have. None of that was true. As the male lead of this world, Jeremy's physical condition was anything but ordinary. He not only had endless tricks up his sleeve, he also had enough stamina to never run out. But right now, I just wanted to piss him off. From its explanation, I finally realized that Jeremy's memory loss this time wasn't an accident. It was the world's trajectory correcting him. It used amnesia to wipe out his obsession with me, so that he could smoothly form a bond with the female lead. The system said, we've already arranged a fated encounter between the female lead and the male lead, Jeremy, over here. Host, wait a bit. I'll report this upstairs. Once your case is approved, you can go back. Okay. I had originally thought that once I completed the mission and went back, I would be overjoyed. But only later did I realize, a faint sense of loss had quietly risen in my heart. After all, I had spent so much time living with Jeremy. His way of expressing love was more obsessive than a normal person's, but also fiercer and more pure. Just thinking that I would never see him again, I actually felt a little reluctant to part with him. Very soon, though, the huge fortune I'd gotten from the divorce soothed my soul. I could take all of that back with me. When the time came, I could switch to a different man every day. How would I still have time to think about Jeremy? I waited peacefully for the countdown to my departure. Yet, for some inexplicable reason, I kept running into Jeremy all over the place. Sometimes I would even see him when I went to the bathroom. Why wasn't he going off to meet the female lead? Why was he always running into me? The next time the man saw me, his handsome face was cold, with no hint of warmth. He said, "Are you blocking my path on purpose?" Me, if you didn't say that, I would have thought you were the one doing it on purpose. I shrugged innocently. I'm just shopping like a normal person. But you, President Williams, why are you in the women's clothing section? The moment the words left my mouth, a delicate, pretty girl stepped out from behind Jeremy. President Williams is helping me pick clothes. Her voice was soft, but her eyes were bright and clear. She explained seriously, because I'm going with President Williams to a business reception later, and I don't have anything suitable to wear. The halo around this girl shone especially bright. I recognized her immediately. The female lead of this world, and Jeremy's destined other half. As expected, the plot was being corrected. The male and female lead's romance line had already started to develop. To keep the story from veering off its proper path again, I decided to quietly play the invisible woman and turn to leave. But a hand shot out to stop me. You still haven't told me why you keep appearing in front of me again and again. It's a coincidence. Coincidence, or on purpose? He clearly lost his memory, yet he still liked to chase me down like this. I smiled, brushing away the hand blocking my way, only for him to naturally wrap his fingers around mine. I said. I don't like people playing hard to get, he said. What was that supposed to mean? Feeling that cool, large hand closing around my palm, my whole body went stiff, and, to my own surprise, a little attached. Jeremy seemed to feel the same, his fingers unconsciously pinched the back of my hand, like he'd done it many times before. I really don't feel any aversion to you, he murmured thoughtfully. His memories were gone, but his body's instincts remained. Afraid Jeremy might remember something because of this physical contact, I hurriedly pulled my hand back. Although you really are quite charming, President Williams, there are plenty of men under the sky. I'm not about to hang myself from a single tree. These few times were pure coincidence. If you don't want to see me, I'll avoid these places from now on. Seeing me deliberately put distance between us, and hearing what I said, it was as if he were some kind of natural disaster. Jeremy's face turned frighteningly cold. Monica Lopez, remember what you just said. The next time we meet, I won't let you off easily. I stayed at home for several days after that, afraid of running into Jeremy again. Later, I thought it through. Why was I acting so guilty? I was about to leave this place anyway, running into him wouldn't be a big deal. That night, I went to a bar, determined to cut loose and indulge myself. The missing system finally reappeared. Host, your mission outcome application has been rejected. The bond between the male lead and the female lead has still not been successfully established. However, considering that you are the variable here, the higher-ups have already approved your return. I closed my eyes and rolled over. Thanks for the offer, but I'm not going back. The system explained, you can take the massive fortune back with you. Oh. Host, haven't you always wanted to go back and be a rich lady? I already am a rich lady. System, but haven't you always thought the male lead was too domineering and a nuisance to your freedom? I said, I've lived with him for so long that I'm used to it. You're too late. Host, are you sure you don't want to leave? This is your only chance. Even though the male lead loves you very deeply now, the world's trajectory will still keep trying to correct him later. It's possible that in the end you really will end up with the vicious supporting actress ending. I shook my head, my tone aggrieved. It was your correction this time that left me stuck in bed for a whole month. I've already lost all faith in you guys. System, sorry. And besides, life is supposed to be uncertain. If I give up the happiness in front of me because of some uncertain future, wouldn't that make me kind of stupid? When I remembered seeing Jeremy standing next to the female lead, I really had felt irritated deep down. Since I'd figured it out, I had to stick to my decision. I wasn't going back. I wanted to stay and sleep with Jeremy for the rest of my life. Jeremy was probably thinking the same thing. If I went back and he suddenly went full villain mode and disrupted the world's functioning, I'd have to come back and clean up the mess. Such a hassle. I'd probably be slept with for several months straight. How would that be any different from unpaid overtime? Might as well cut off the possibility at the root. After listening to me, the system's tone suddenly changed, sounding a bit gratified. Congratulations, host. You've passed this evaluation. It has been detected that you love both the male lead in this life. Your mission identity is now being updated, your new role, the world's female lead. I was stunned. Wait, that's a thing? The system sounded proud. I contributed to it. I actually noticed a while ago that you didn't really want to leave Jeremy. Every time you ran away, you didn't look that happy either. And Jeremy's level of obsession with you is extremely high. I guess things would end up like this, so I applied in advance to replace the female lead. What about the original female lead? The original female lead doesn't really want to be in a relationship right now. She's a very ambitious, career-focused girl. If nothing goes wrong, she'll be binding with a strong heroine counterattack system and starting a new life. Thinking of the girl in my memories, soft on the outside but with determined eyes. I felt like I understood. The system said, then, from here on out, please embrace your new life, host. Thank you, system. The weather was lovely today. Jeremy didn't see me on the surveillance feeds. In less than 10 minutes, he had rushed home, face cold and anxious, until he saw me in the kitchen baking cookies. He froze. I held out the freshly baked cookies. You're home early today? He was still stunned. I thought you wanted to leave me again. I've been in a good mood these days. I'll think about it again after a few days' rest. I stuck my tongue out playfully. Taking his hand, I said, here, try my cooking. Jeremy didn't hesitate to take a bite, then his expression shifted slightly. They're very good. Don't make them again. I thumped his chest in annoyance. Were they really that bad? Jeremy, having lost me and found me again, pulled me tightly into his arms. Just as he was about to say something, he froze. Looking down, he saw that there was suddenly a ring on the ring finger of his left hand. I tilted my head up and smiled at him. Ex-husband, would you be willing to keep being my husband? His eyes reddened in an instant. He kissed the back of my hand, just like back when he'd been at his loneliest and most afraid of the dark, and I'd asked him if he wanted to sleep together. I would.